I have UFC website open up right now, and I'm looking at Sean Strickland's last 8 fights. His last fight was Paulo Costa, a split decision win. Okay, very forgettable fight. Who deserves the next title shot at 185 pounds in the UFC? The middleweight division. Is it Sean Strickland, number one contender, whose last fight was against Paulo Costa, or KHAMZAT CHIMAEV, who just won this past weekend at UFC 308, defeating Robert Whitaker in the first round by TKO. Welcome to Threecrow MMA, where we push MMA forward. So, mixed martial arts is a meritocracy. Meritocracy. Who deserves the next title shot? So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a case. Now that you know, I'm not going to hold you in suspense. I think KHAMZAT CHIMAEV, BORZ, the Wolf, deserves the next title shot. He deserves to face Duplessis in February, March of next year, whenever Duplessis is ready and 100% ready to go. Okay, so, but Sean Strickland, though, he's the number one contender, and right now KHAMZAT is number 3. I believe, and Adesanya is number 2. Sean Strickland believes that he deserves the title shot. So I'm going to, hopefully, this gets to Sean. I want to speak to Sean directly because we really gotta, if we're gonna talk about meritocracy, right? Meritocracy and the reasons you believe you deserve the shot. And if the contract isn't signed, the fight's not on, right? Sign the contract, there's a date, there's a location, everything comes up, the UFC makes an announcement. Sure, that hasn't happened yet. We're still in the decision-making process. By the way, on Saturday after KHAMZAT won, Dana White was asked who would be next, and he said, that's a good question, talk to me on Tuesday. So sometime today they'll be having their meeting, maybe sometime today they're gonna have an announcement. We'll see. Hopefully they see this also before they make that decision. So I have UFC website open up right now, and I'm looking at Sean Strickland's last 8 fights. His last fight was Paulo Costa, a split decision win. Okay, very forgettable fight, right? A fight that even Paulo Costa said he's never going to go into a fight and try to be patient and point fight and win rounds again. He's going to go back to just smashing heads. So he recognized that was a forgettable fight. Before that, Sean Strickland, his first title defense, loses to Duplessis in a split decision. Sean believes he's won. Some people believe he won. Duplessis is the champion. Before that, Strickland fought Adesanya, beat him in a terrific fight, nullified his striking. Had great defense, controlled the octagon, had great pressure, moved forward. It was a terrific fight, a terrific showing. He definitely won that belt and deserved to win. By decision. So he wins by decision. Before that, he beats Magomedov in the second round by TKO. Before that, Imavov, a unanimous decision win. Then before that, he fights Cannonier and he loses a split decision in a good fight, decent fight. And but the fight previous to that, he fought Alex Pereira, where he lasted 2 minutes and 36 seconds in the first round. And then before that, he won a split decision over Jack Hermanson. Those are Sean Strickland's last 8 fights. All right. So before I'm gonna go into KHAMZAT's previous fights. I think it's 15-0 right now. But before I do that, previously, Sean Strickland was concerned with Israel Adesanya getting a direct title shot because he said he didn't deserve a title shot. He lost fair and square. Sean believed he deserved the title shot, not Adesanya. So if we look at Adesanya's past fights, I'm going to go back to, let's see, we're going to go back pretty far to Adesanya versus Vettori in 2018. This might be his second or third fight in the UFC, okay? He beat Vettori. Then he fought Brad Vettori, beat him, Tavares, beat him, Derek Brunson beat him, knocked him out. He fought the number one greatest middleweight of all time, Anderson Silva, and defeated him. And we know now Adesanya is the number two greatest middleweight of all time, but he went on to be that, right? So he fought Anderson Silva. Then he fought Kevin Gastelum. Then he fought Robert Whittaker. Then he fought Yoel Romero. Then he fought Costa. Okay? And he's undefeated at this point. He's beaten everyone, so now what is Adesanya going to do because he has beaten everybody in the top of the division in middleweight, right? Here in the UFC. He goes up to challenge himself to fight the light heavyweight champion. He loses. He comes back. He faces Vettori again because he's making his second lap around the division. He defeats Vettori in a better fashion. He fights Whittaker again. Whittaker had a better showing this fight. This is a decision win. Then he fights Jared Cannonier, okay? And defeats Jared Cannonier. Then he fights Pereira, loses by knockout. He faces Pereira again in an immediate rematch because of his past. He's a long-term champion, dominant champion, undefeated in the middleweight division. Fights Pereira again, knocks out Pereira, regains his title. He becomes the two-time middleweight champion. Two-time. He's on his second middleweight run. He runs into Sean Strickland. We spoke about that fight. Sean Strickland wins in an amazing fight, right? That's September of 2023. Roughly a year later, Adesanya comes back. So now, Adesanya comes back to have that rematch against, or not a rematch, he gets into an immediate title match. But Sean Strickland was not sure of why it was that Israel Adesanya deserved to come back after losing to him, why he deserved to come back into an immediate title match. His past is nothing but a whole bunch of monsters in the top 10 and top 5 since he's been in the UFC, okay? Not only that, he is the two-time middleweight champion, and he looked great against Duplessis. Although he lost, he did do a good showing of himself. He looked good. He looked great. Duplessis was better on the night. He loses that fight. Now he's going to take some time off. But you were unsure of why he deserved that title shot. But do you understand now because of his past and everything that he did? You think that him losing to you nullifies all of that. It doesn't. You have a win over him, great. He has a win over some of the baddest men on the planet, including Robert Whittaker, Paulo Costa twice, who you barely beat in a forgettable fight. He fought Yoel Romero. Kevin Gastelum, that was a crazy fight where we were able to see his heart, him get beat up, beat up, touched up a lot, punched a lot, kicked a lot, hurt a lot, and he was able to come through and we were able to see that. That was an incredible fight. I mean, Adesanya has given us some great moments. Yes, he deserved everything that he got. He got the title shot. He lost, was extremely graceful. So glad Africa's united now, and he's going to come back later. Okay, so now you believe you deserve a title shot. So we're going to go to Robert Whittaker, the person who just lost. So there's you don't believe it was a title eliminator, right? You believe that you had the title shot. But we had, the bot was assigned. We have KHAMZAT versus Robert Whittaker. Who is Robert Whittaker? Going back a few fights, we're going to go back to, we have Wonderboy Thompson back in 2014. We're going to jump forward to Brad Tavares in 2015. Defeated him by knockout in the first round. He fought Uriah Hall. Don't know who that is. I do know who this is, but I don't know his first name or how to pronounce it. Anyways, he fights Bronson. Defeats him in the first round. TKO. He fights Sosa. Beats him in the second round. Then he fights Yoel Romero 2 times. Beats him 2 times. Romero is a monster, right? We know that. Then he fights Israel Adesanya, greatest number 1, not even arguably number 1, number 2 middleweight of all time, right? Then he loses his belt to Israel Adesanya. Robert Whittaker, former champion, loses his belt to at Israel Adesanya. Then he fights 3 contenders in 2020 into 2021. He fights Darren Till, Jared Cannonier, and Gastelum. Beats all 3 of them. He fights 3 contenders in order to earn his shot to face Adesanya a second time. He earns it. He puts in a better showing against Adesanya. He loses to Adesanya. He fights another contender. So he loses to Adesanya in February of 2022. September of the same year, he's fighting Whitaker. He's once back on the horse fighting. He's not complaining. He's not saying he only wants a title shot. He's not asking for more money. He's not saying he deserves anything. He's saying, give me the next person because I know that if I keep beating the next person, I'm going to get that belt. It's inevitable. He beats Vettori. He gets back to the belt again. Champion. Loses to Adesanya. Gets to Adesanya, gets a title shot, loses it. Now he's fight Vettori again to get another title shot. Beats him. Now he fights Duplessis, loses to Duplessis. Okay, what does he do after losing in July of 2023 to Duplessis? In February of this year, he fights Paulo Costa. The hardest challenge he can face in the division as soon as possible. Robert Whitaker is the man. He's the BMF. Robert Whitaker needs to be put in the BMF conversation. Robert Whitaker needs to be put in the BMF conversation. He fights Paulo Costa, a contender. Then he fights another contender who's supposed to fight another contender, KHAMZAT CHIMAEV. But that doesn't fall through because KHAMZAT was sick. So he fights Aliskerov, gets him out of there in 1 minute and 49 seconds. He fights Paulo Costa, beats him in an amazing fight. He fights Aliskerov 4 months later, right, from February to June. 5 months later, fights Aliskerov, doesn't complain about getting a new opponent, finishes him in the first round, less than 2 minutes. Then he comes out to fight KHAMZAT CHIMAEV because he's working to earn another shot at the title. He's working to earn it. He loses to KHAMZAT CHIMAEV. So now we're stuck with KHAMZAT at the top of the middleweight division and Sean Strickland. Who deserves the title shot? Well, let's go back to Sean Strickland's last few fights. A split decision win against Paulo Costa, that was forgettable. A split decision loss against Duplessis, in which some thought he won. A strong showing against Israel Adesanya, in which he clearly won in a decision. Magomedov, who he defeated TKO in the second round. Imavov, unanimous decision, win. And then a loss to Cannonier, split decision. And then a loss to Pereira by knockout in the first round. 2 minutes, 36 seconds. And then Hermansson versus Strickland. He beats Hermansson by a split decision. Okay? Now we're going to go over to, that was Sean Strickland's last 8 fights. We're going to go over to KHAMZAT CHIMAEV's last 8 fights. His last fight, which happened 2 days ago against Robert Whitaker, who we just ran down his resume, who he is, what he's done, how he conducts himself as a true martial artist and a true fighter. Never saying I'm only going to go for the belt. Never saying pay me more money. Actually, I forgot to mention that. If I go back to Sean Strickland, he, after losing to Duplessis, went on a campaign that he would only fight for the belt. He's not going to fight for anyone. After spending his whole career talking about how he doesn't care about the belt, it doesn't mean anything, and then getting the belt and throwing it on the ground, and he doesn't care about it, and it's broken, whatever. But then losing the belt, and suddenly he's only fighting for the belt. Secondly, talking about how he doesn't care about fighting for the money. Money doesn't matter. But the moment you get Paulo Costa, you force the UFC to give you more money to fight him. That's not BMF status. That's not Robert Whitaker level. That's not being a crazy, I just love fighting, I don't care. I don't care about money. I just want to fight. I just want to get in the ring. But you're actively telling everybody, all your fans, the whole MMA community, the UFC, Duplessis, and all the contenders that you will not fight anybody except for the belt. That's it. So the UFC had to pay you more money to fight Paulo Costa. You want to be champion, and you barely beat him. So there's a judge who thinks you lost. Okay? Robert Whittaker did very well against Paulo Costa. Robert Whittaker got ran over by KHAMZAT CHIMAEV, who is still undefeated. Now let's go to KHAMZAT's last 8 fights. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. His last 8 fights, including his last fight. Robert Whittaker, right? If you're watching it, or maybe I'll just go into it a little bit. So basically, what is it? 3 minutes 32 seconds. KHAMZAT shot. Well, KHAMZAT I think was a lot more patient in this one. He actually took the center of the octagon and kind of did a little moving around. I was like, okay, he didn't just kind of like press to try to get him. But after about a minute or so, he presses Robert Whittaker. He goes for the shot. He gets Robert Whittaker down. Robert did great, scrambling. I mean, I know we were all excited. We really thought Rob was gonna basically survive the first and second rounds. Then we're gonna see KHAMZAT get pieced up on the feet for the second and third round. For the third and fourth round. Then the fifth round is gonna come. It's gonna be 2-on-2, and they're gonna be fighting. What's gonna happen? Does KHAMZAT have enough, energy in him? It's gonna be Rob. That's what we were all expecting to happen. That's not what happened because KHAMZAT is a monster. KHAMZAT is what everything Sean Strickland talks about being in that octagon. Okay? He gets his arm under Robert Whittaker's chin, and he winds up pushing in his teeth. Right? And the pain, as it was like this, forced him to tap right away. And we were all wondering, we found out later what it was. But he's going to get his teeth fixed, he said. He said his jaw's good. It's just the teeth removed, and he just couldn't fight. So he said it's a reason for him to get them fixed. Hopefully he gets some solid stuff in there so that he can come back, because you look good, and you were like scrambling, and you just... So anyways, we know Rob's going to come back. He has a great attitude. He's probably going to be back in just a few months, ready to take on another contender in the earnest spot, right? So KHAMZAT just beat Whittaker, and we just went through Whittaker's resume. Well, come on now. Who did he fight before this? Kamaru Usman, former pound-for-pound #1 fighter in the world, who is a wrestler. And people keep saying he's a division down. What did they weigh in as? That's all that matters. That's all that matters. Okay? When two guys weighing at 170 and on weight day, one weighs 175 and one weighs 195, there's no complaining. They weighed in at the same time. They're fighting each other. Who beats who? That's all it is. Anyway, so I wanted to put that kind of stuff to rest. But I understand it, though. I understand you're saying he's proficient at a weight class down, and this is a weight class up for Usman. I do understand that. At the same time, he weighed in. We can't be saying things about, like, if Max Holloway would have lost to Justin Gaethje, you can't say, well, he lost because he's really great at featherweight. I mean, come on, we have to have the same standards for everything, for everybody, all the time. And if we're going to change something, we have to change all of it, okay? MMA is not the Wild Wild West anymore, and it's not boxing. It's a sport. Structure. The way we talk about things, the way people do things has to be similar so that it's a true, as much as it can be, as a meritocracy. We know that if you have 1 million Instagram followers, some meritocracy goes out the window. Maybe you get skipped on a couple line, but you still have to win the fight no matter what. So he defeats Kamaru Usman, right, in a terrific fight, great fight. We saw him get tired, but he was smart. Got the 2 takedowns at the end of the second and third to secure those rounds. So shout out. And it was a majority. And he may have, that first round could have been a 10-8 too, because Usman was just pretty much surviving, which is what we thought Robert Whittaker was going to do. But anyways, he beats Kamaru Usman, who is consensus #1 or #2 greatest welterweight all time, right? Then we go to Kevin Holland, extremely experienced, but he beats Kevin Holland, who's not a wrestler, in the first round. Then KHAMZAT fights Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns. He doesn't run through Gilbert Burns. This is the first time in KHAMZAT's career that we've seen him go through any adversity, and he solved it. We saw him get knocked down. We saw him get cracked. We saw him get kicked. We saw him not be able to just finish somebody on the ground, not be able to just control somebody on the ground, not be able to finish somebody, not be able to knock somebody out. This is the first time we saw that from KHAMZAT, as he's saying he's going to smash everybody, which is exactly what he did. And he beat Gilbert Burns, but Gilbert Burns actually, boom, stopped him and forced him to go 3 rounds. So it was great for us to see KHAMZAT get tired, go through 3 rounds, and all that. Before that, Jing Liang, first round, he picked him up. KHAMZAT picked him up, walked him over to Dana White, slammed him down, and starts punching him in the face and talking to Dana White about how he needs the belt because why are you sending me these people? Look at this guy. I'm about to finish this guy in 2 seconds. All right? Give me that belt. And then he finished him. Before that, and that was at 170. Mearshart was at 185. 17-second knockout, first round. Before that, McKee, 3 minutes, 11 seconds, knockout. Before that, Phillips, second round, minute 30 seconds, submission. Okay? So we got finish. Then he runs into Gilbert Burns. Then he finishes Kevin Holland. Then he runs into Kamaru Usman. And so you guys talking about the weight thing, both Usman and Burns are the 2 that fight at 170, and there's the only 2 who haven't gotten finished. Robert Whittaker fights at 185. He got finished in the first round, 30 seconds. And of course it was a unique circumstance, so can't wait to see him come back. Because we didn't really get to see the skill. We saw the wrestling difference. You know, KHAMZAT's wrestling it's somewhere else. He's truly a great fighter, a great talent, and we were all right about him coming in, like with the energy that he brings and his abilities. And he promoted himself as that monster who's going to do this, and this is what he did. And now in his final showing 2 days ago, or his last showing 2 days ago, his most recent showing, first round, Robert Whittaker, he defeats him. So now I ask you, Sean Strickland, MMA community, UFC, matchmakers, who deserves this fight? Who do we want to see fight more? What would be more exciting? What's going to put more people in seats? What's more likely to have people buy a pay-per-view in February or March? Is it Sean Strickland versus Duplessis 2? Because we're so excited to see that again? Pumped up? Or is it KHAMZAT? And by the way, KHAMZAT, who also will fight anybody. He wants the belt, but he'll fight anybody whenever he can. So I already gave my pick. All right? KHAMZAT deserves the next title shot at middleweight. Next up, if whoever wins that fight, Sean Strickland, you can just wait. Because I mean, you say that you just love fighting, you love fighting, but it seems that you're perfectly fine with waiting and not fighting. So go out there, shoot your guns, and drive your trucks, and wait for the winner of Duplessis and KHAMZAT. Get yourself trained up. Come out, show that you're the best, because you're the number 2. There's only Adesanya, and you beat Adesanya, so he can't get a title shot before you. So for sure, you deserve to get another title shot because you earned it with that split decision win over Paulo Costa, which is forgettable. Yeah, but you deserve it though. You deserve it though. I'm just saying you don't deserve it over KHAMZAT CHIMAEV right now. In the next month, 2 months, 5 months, 6 months. The next person Dricus du Plessis should be fighting is KHAMZAT CHIMAEV. Like the video if you like this. Put in the comments what your thoughts are. Okay? Subscribe if you want to help push MMA forward and not just have this wild, wild west. No, true meritocracies are meritocracies, all right? The best versus the best. That's what we want to see, all right? Later.